Welcome. Before this class starts, I did forget to mention at the beginning that this would be a great class for you to have a very peaceful playlist running behind you. I'm not doing a whole lot of talking, and so the music is going to be very soothing to you in this ultra restorative class. My name is Sandra. Take a seat, close your eyes, and just check in with yourself for a moment. This is going to be an ultra restorative class, so you can start cheering right now. It kind of came together because I was thinking earlier this afternoon how tired I was. And well, it was my own fault. I might have eaten a lot of cake batter and the sugar kind of knocked me out. But regardless, I'm thinking other people are tired too. And you know, when you're tired, you should listen to your body. And that is not the time to jump up on the mat and try to work through that. It's time to lay down on the mat so that the body can restore itself and the breath can help guide us through and bring more energy into the body. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. So if you're tired, thumbs up to you because this is your class. So take a deep inhale. Let it go. And then let's take the arms all the way up. Bring the palms together. Exhale the hands home to the heart in prayer pose. We're pausing here to set an intention for our practice. And then go ahead and release the hands. Inhale, take the shoulders up. Exhale, back and down. Do that one more time. Perfect. Okay, the bolster, a block, maybe your blanket. We'll kind of play that by ear. If you don't have any props, if you could grab a pillow or a blanket, that would be fabulous. Having said that, I'm not going to lead you into a pose that you can't do if you do not have anything nearby. So you can still do this. It's just going to be very different. So let's take that bolster. It's going horizontally across the mat for right now. I mean, it's going to stay horizontal, but we are going to tip it up on its edge. Now, I need a block, and that's going to go just kind of off behind the bolster. My head is going to end up over here. And this is why I said maybe the blanket, because frankly, let's admit it, the block is not the most comfortable pillow. So we could swap that out, or we could put it at its lowest height and put the blanket on top. So let's just kind of see when we get there. All right. So I have my left hip to the bolster. So you're going to need to turn on your mat. And my bottom leg, the left one, knees kind of aiming out in front of me. It's the other leg I want to talk about, the top leg. Pull that behind you. So if you can get this right leg behind the left foot, that would be, I mean, I guess we can say ideal, of course, knowing that there's no ideal in a yoga pose. That's what I'm kind of aiming for, but that might not be feasible. That might be too much on a hip that's really tight. So if you need to bring that knee back over the bottom foot, it's okay. I just want you to see where I'm headed, and then you can make any adjustments you want to. Now, this is going to be kind of the weird part. You might want to take the bottom edge of the bolster and pull it out just a little bit so the bolster's tipping in towards you. I'm going to sit up really tall. I want to get my ribs over the edge of this bolster. And then as I come down, bottom arm, left arm, out in front, head to the block. So if you need to turn the block higher, and I kind of feel like I want to, then go ahead. We're taking that right arm overhead right now, just kind of letting it hang there. So again, having said that and worked you into this pose, change whatever doesn't feel right. If it's just kind of because it's, I don't know, it feels different. For instance, the bolster feels a little weird like this. It's not painful. I'm going to leave it. This is how I intended it to be. If it's painful for you, I want you to drop the bolster down so you don't feel it jarring into your side. As well as, once you come down, I turned my block higher because, I don't know, this just felt, for me, kind of like, I don't know, it feels uncomfortable on my neck, and I don't want that. So I turned it higher. You make that decision for yourself. I could imagine that if I had right shoulder issues right now, my arm might not like being overhead like this. So you're making changes. You're accommodating. You can bring that arm down. You're fixing the legs however you need them to be, right? And then close your eyes. You might also find that since we're staying very restorative, you might notice that you um, cool off a little bit quicker, especially depending on the room temperature. So you might want your blanket to cover up within each pose. Well, you can kind of gauge that. All right, so just kind of hanging out right here. Eyes are closed. This particular pose is going to enable you to focus on the breath a little bit more. I want you to notice when you take a deep breath in, go ahead, do it. You know, which lung feels easier to breathe into? Does one feel constricted? Are you able to get a fuller breath here? These are just things I want you to question. So anytime we're tired and we can shift our focus to the breath, especially deepening the breath, that's going to help. Or not eating cake batter would probably help too. Not going to lie about that. It was really good though. So keeping your focus on the breath and focused down in the lower chakras. So root, sacral, solar plexus. Let's keep our attention in that area. You stay right there. I'm coming up. You might see me kind of just checking my clock. I want to make sure that we're in this pose equally on both sides. So if I hover there with you, I'm going to lose track of all sense of time. As we work our way through our sequence, we're going to incorporate a mudra that targets fatigue, as well as some other things. Remember, a mudra is a hand pose, and you want to do it with both hands, not just one. So we'll get to that as we work through. And then, of course, I have a super short Zen story for you. I think it's good that it's super short because if you're tired, you really aren't going to want to listen to a long story anyway. I'll wait till we get on the other side. We're going to stay here for another 2 minutes. So focusing on the breath, deepening the breath. Feel the abdomen expanding on the inhale. We are holding the poses today, so if at any point in time you don't feel like you want to stay in the pose for whatever reason, go ahead and change it up. Maybe find child's pose. A little over a minute to go. Okay, if you do have that arm overhead, let's go ahead, give it a reprieve, bring it down so it rests right on top of you. And then we'll bring that right hand down to the mat in front of us. Using that hand as leverage, you can slowly start to make your way back up. And then go ahead and just bring the body back to center for a moment, however you want to sit. Let's just realign. You can probably still feel like the body's in a twist, right? Deep inhale. Let it go. If you feel like you want to counter twist and go to the right for a moment, go ahead. And then come back to center because we got to do the other side anyway. So you're going to turn on your mat. So your right hip's against the bolster. I'm switching directions. Don't forget your block. The right knee's kind of pointing forward. I say kind of because you can change that up as you need. Pull that left leg back wherever is comfortable for you. Tip your bolster. It's at a little bit of an angle directed in towards your right hip. Sit up super tall. It's just kind of like you're pouring those side ribs over the bolster. Right arm's coming forward. Settle your head on your block. And you might find this side's different. On this side, I kind of like the block where it is. I don't want it higher. And so you're just paying attention to those little nuances in your own body. And then we'll see if that left arm wants to kind of dangle overhead. And then as you close your eyes, do a quick check-in. Make sure you're comfortable here. Change what you need to. Otherwise, go right to the breath, staying down low still with the inhale and exhale. And so the Zen story, it's really about 2 sentences long here. A Zen student once asked his master, "What is enlightenment?" And the master said, "When you're hungry, eat. When tired, sleep." And so I think sometimes we try to push ourselves through our fatigue, and maybe the best thing to do is to just listen to the body and kind of just settle into your restorative yoga practice, right? Doesn't mean you have to go take a nap. It could mean that. I'm all for that. But it could mean just grab your props and go get in your favorite restorative pose. You can even set an alarm if you feel it, you have to, right? And just hang out there, focusing on the breath. There's another variation of that story. It's slightly longer. It's one of the disciples is bragging about his master's abilities. He's going on and on about how his master can draw pictures in the air with a brush and just crazy things. And he kind of says to the other student, "Well, what can your master do?" And the student replies, "Well, my master's hungry, he eats, and when he's tired, he sleeps." So same context, just a little different story. All right, we're here for a couple minutes. So I just want you to veg out a little bit, but staying in contact with that breath. One more minute here. Okay, if that left arm's overhead, go ahead and bring it to rest on your left side. And then left hand to the ground. And very gently push your way back up. So take a seat, coming back to center again. And if you want to take that counter twist to the left, go ahead. If you're happy where you were, stay right there. And then come back to center. Inhale the arms up. Exhale them to the heart. Okay, so now we need 2 blocks, bolster, and a blanket. I'm going to have this bolster out in front of me. It's going vertically on my mat, but my blocks are going to prop, that's what I meant to say, them up. I'm going to say that whole sentence again. My 2 blocks are going to prop up my bolster. Apparently I'm still tired. Okay, so this is out in front of me. So that blanket, let's kind of turn it into a neck roll. Not super thick, so depending on how you have your blanket folded, I might just kind of leave mine like this. I want to get this between my thighs and my calves so I can sit back on it. And then once you have that, as you come forward, you're going to lay the heart down and wrap the arms underneath in this gap that you have made. Let's start out with the right ear down on the bolster. Close your eyes. And then again, I need you to do a little body scan and assess how this pose is for you. If your knees are not happy here, change it up. You might want to even flip over onto your back. If you have any neck issues and you don't like your head turned in this direction, you could, if you had one more prop, like another pillow, you could put it out on top of the bolster so that you could put your forehead on it. So think outside the box. When you're cozy, close your eyes. And I want you to take your focus back to your breath again. We're going to do something a little bit different. So with our front side of the body down on the bolster, you can feel how the breath is constricted in the front of the body. So naturally, maybe I shouldn't say naturally, but often then I will ask you to take your focus to the back breath, and that feels expansive. But I want you to switch it up. I want you to inhale with your focus on the front body and feel that pressure against the bolster. The next inhale, I want you to take your focus to the back body and just feel how open and vast that experience is. And let's just keep going back and forth to the front and the back, front and back. Okay? You follow your breath and its pace. And make sure the breath stays slow. We're not hurrying through this. I honestly don't care if you only get through, 2 front breaths and 2 back, because that's how long you are making the breath. And then just let go. Let go of the focus on the breath and just be. Just settle into the pose. And then go ahead and turn your head to the other side. So that 2-sentence Zen story is a little bit more than just being about, are you hungry? Are you tired? Where else could that apply in your everyday world? Like what's going on that you've been recognizing, you've been acknowledging, but you really haven't been fulfilling what your body needs from you. You haven't been nurturing, allowing that feminine side of the energy to step forward. I don't know, one example that kind of just pops into my head is, are you the type of person who, when asked, you tend to say yes to everything? And I'm sure you've had the experience where you've said yes, it was kind of begrudgingly, and your head's going, say no, you don't want to do this, right? Well, you're recognizing that you need a break, that maybe you don't have the energy to share, you don't have the time to share, you don't have the commitment to share, but you say yes anyway, right? And so I want you to think about that Zen story and the context in which you could use it and take advantage of it in your world, right? Give yourself a break. All right, take a deep inhale. Cleansing exhale. Keep your eyes closed. Plant the hands on your mat. Very slowly push your way up. Let the head be heavy. Take your time. You'll start to walk the hands backwards so you can come all the way up. Keep the head downward. And then slowly bring the chin to center and softly open your eyes. I think that sugar, like it went to the part of my brain where words come from. I feel like I'm stumbling all over words. So sorry, bear with me. Okay, we're shifting positions. You're still going to need everything that you have out already. So let's take that blanket. We're going to sit on the edge of it. All right, so we have that center on our mat. I'm just going to sit up on the edge. Let me move my props for a second. Take the legs out into a V. Upavista Konasana. Okay, flex the feet. And this should feel pretty good already, having the hips tipped forward from that blanket. So I hope you're comfortable here. But let's go ahead and take the hands to the tops of the shins and just find some movement. Notice where you might need to stretch a little bit, in which direction, what feels tight. So you might want to linger. Okay, so coming back to center, if you have no props, give me a second. Let's set this up first if you do have props. So I want to take both my blocks. They're coming to the inside of my right leg. The first block, and you can change this up as you see fit. The first block is going to be kind of inside my knee, and at its tallest height. The next block is going to go just inside of the tall one at a medium height. So you can space these out. You can change the height of the block. So this is all up to you. These are going to hold the bolster. So now I'm going to take that, bring it in front of me, and just gently tip it onto these blocks. So I can feel it's not even touching this back one. So I'm going to drop the first block down. There we go. That's better. Okay. Now you can see I've got this little gap here under my bolster, right? Right arm is going to come through that space. As I do that, I want to lengthen and then gently tip over onto this bolster. Okay, so what if this bolster is just way too far away for me to get here? That's a possibility. You have some options, so don't panic. We are doing this pose to both sides, so I do kind of want you tipped over, but if you can't reach the bolster, let's tip it the other way. You might put your block underneath here, and we can kind of tip over like this. You could also come off the blanket and use that to add some height to your bolster. If you have a third block too, you could put that up on top. So all options, you figure that out while I address the yogis that might not have any props. Okay, so we're on the ground, legs are wide, and what you might want to do is just, you could either take the right forearm to that right thigh, again, lengthen to just gently tip into this pose. And to make it more restorative, I would say take the left arm behind you or in front of you. If you really want to take it overhead, you could, but then you're kind of hanging in space and that doesn't feel very restorative. If you're more flexible, you might be able to get your elbow to your leg and then hold your head up. So a lot of options. Dive in. Let's see where we're at on this side, and close your eyes when you're comfortable. It's also okay to relax your feet once you're in this position. So while you're hanging out there, let me tell you a little bit about the mudra that we're going to do. It's called Vata Nashak Mudra. If Vata sounds familiar, then you might have some knowledge of Ayurveda. In Ayurvedic terminology, if you will, there are 3 doshas or characteristics: Pitta, Vata, and Kapha. And so this one, it's got Vata in the title. It would help that certain type of person. But it all actually, is more for a Kapha. Because remember I said it targets fatigue. Kapha people are generally, their energy feels a little bit more sluggish to them. If you feel like you're a couch potato, you probably are a Kapha. I'm just guessing. Although we all fall into that category at certain times. And I should mention that your dosha can change. And so, just a good one for fatigue. We're going to get to it when we are closer to Shavasana. You're doing well. We're staying there another minute. Notice how the breath is feeling in this pose. I'm hoping you're super comfortable. All right, give me a deep inhale. Cleansing exhale. You can tell my dogs aren't tired. And then go ahead and slowly push your way up. We need to move whatever you've set up on the first side. Let's switch it to the other side. And then, of course, remember that this side might feel totally different. So you might need to still make some changes. When you tip over, elevate first. We need to lengthen first, and then come on down when you're ready. So here on this side, I do want to take your focus back to your breath. I want you to focus on the abdomen and its movement against the bolster, if you're using the bolster in front of you like this. Hang in there. We're staying there another couple minutes. Allow your focus to drift away from the breath so you can just settle into that space. Deep inhale, loud exhale. Thoughtfully make your way back up. I think it's important to come out of the side bends or twists slowly, especially when you've been holding them. So just be careful. I'm going to move my props aside for a moment. We're still using them. And then just go ahead and pull the legs in, give them a little squeeze. It's a long time to be in that wide-legged, I was going to say fold. Let's just say twisty bend. And then what we're going to need for the next restorative pose is one block and your bolster. I have the other props nearby. Let's see what we're going to need to change, if anything. All right, bolster's going behind you. It's going horizontally across the mat. So the block is going to go right in front of the bolster. So I'm going to be going down backwards on my back, head here. Shoulders are going to be on the very edge of the bolster. Block is going to be resting, I can't reach, resting just across between the shoulder blades. Now, there's a couple things you might want to change up here. What we're going to do with the legs is take them into easy pose or sukhasana. So go ahead and get situated. Well, I'm too close to my block, with the ankles underneath the knees. This is where I'm wondering if you might want an extra prop. When you lay back, I don't want the position of the legs to force an arch in the low back. So there's a couple of things we can do if that occurs. We could take the blanket, flatten it out quite a bit. Man, I have a mess going. Flatten it out quite a bit and put that underneath the low back so that that doesn't occur. You could do that anyway if that sounds comfy to you. Or we can release the position of the legs once we get all the way back. So let's see what we got going on here. So I want to lay back slowly. I want to get that block kind of high up on the shoulder blades. Tip back. Now the arms are going into kind of ragdoll, you know, if you were hanging in a fold and your hands are grabbing the elbows, but you might find that that's too constricting, and I can already feel from my shoulder it is. So I'm going to loosen that up. I have one hand grabbing onto the other wrist. Now, let's talk about this pose for a second. This might be, especially depending on the thickness of your bolster, this might feel kind of intense with that block where it is. So if you are wishing that we were in person and you could throw something at me, that would probably be a good sign that you need to change something about the pose. If you want to lower the block, you can. It's just going to kind of change that supported back bend element. The reason I was going for a back bend or kind of an inversion with the head a little bit lower is because those are invigorating and they help when you're tired. And so if you have the block up higher, the head has dropped down. You change what you need to. You might not like the legs in this position. You can change that. That's okay. If you need the blanket poofier so that it's under your back and it feels supportive, that's fine too. You could actually take your other block underneath your low back if you feel like that would help. Play around. Don't shoot the messenger. Find a way to be comfortable. Close your eyes. What I do want you to notice is that this is a heart chakra opening pose. So I want your focus on the breath right in the heart chakra space. And then allow your focus to shift to the third eye, that space between the eyebrows, as though you were staring right at it from within. And with this pose, we're going to play around with it. We're going to change things gradually. The first thing we're going to change is to slowly bring the arms down. They can end up wherever you want them to. Notice how that changes the pose. The second thing we're going to change is the leg that you have in front in Sukhasana. So switch it to the other leg. And then take a deep breath into the heart. Let it go. I'm going to start to untuck my legs, get my feet to the mat, knees bent. Lift the head slowly, pull the chin in toward the collarbone. Now use your elbows if they're still touching the ground. If they're not, get your elbows on the bolster, fingertips to the earth. And very carefully push your way up. As I do that, I'm going to kind of stretch out my legs, but I want to still have a significant bend in the knees because now I want to round the back forward. So just pour over your legs and hang out right here. Breathe into the back. And then slowly make your way back to a seated pose. Okay, Varnashak Mudra. So take your hands like this, palms facing me. We'll just start right there. Okay, the first two fingers, bend them down. I can't keep my other two straight. And then take the thumb right across them. So pinky and ring finger are as straight as you can keep them. First two fingers are tucked down. The thumb is holding them in place. And then we're just going to go ahead and set the backs of the hands on the knees and close your eyes. Empty out the lungs. Slow inhale. Slow exhale, in and out through the nose. I want you to follow that breath. Follow the inhale until it feels like it's pushing out of the crown chakra. Give me 3 more breaths, just like that. And then you'll just let the breath control go. Release the mudra. And open your eyes. Okay, one last pose. Blanket, blocks, I guess everything again, not using the strap today. All right, let's start with the blanket. I should be embarrassed at the mess I've made of mine, so just give me 1 second to fold this a little bit better for you. Okay. So you don't have to fold it exactly like I've done. What I kind of did was just half fold that and fold part over. What I want this to essentially be is it's going out behind me. I want the thicker part towards me. That's my pillow. But I want this part long enough that I can pull it back up and over my eyes. So I feel like I didn't make mine long enough. There we go. So something like that. That's totally fine. Okay. Have that bolster right next to you. Go to the blocks next. So look back. Make sure you're going to end up with your head on the blanket. The blocks are just going under your bent knees. So you decide at what height that might be. I think I'm going to go with the medium height under each knee. And then slowly lay back. No, I didn't forget about the bolster. Go ahead and grab it. The bolster is going right up on top of you. A very peaceful, gentle weight. I'm going to reach back for the tail of my blanket and bring it over to rest over my eyes. Deep inhale. As you exhale, I want you to completely relax the body. I don't know why I'm talking louder to you because I can't see you now. It's kind of like talking with a mask on. You feel like you can't hear. And you have to talk louder and you need to see people's lips moving, I guess. All right, settle in, relax the legs. On your next exhale, I want you to feel the hips growing heavy. Feel the bolster gently pushing down on the hips. I want you to relax the spine and the shoulder blades. Look, our back and our spine did a lot of, I'm going to put this in quotes. You can't see me because your eyes are closed and they're covered. Work. A lot of work for us today in these restorative poses. I mean, we didn't really do work, but we did, right? And you probably can still feel it in the back. And so I want you to let that go. Let the arms grow heavy. Soften the muscles in the face. Slow down the breath. There's nothing to think about here. There's nothing to do, is what I meant to say. There's just being. Just being content and settled into your space. It is my intention to keep you here for Shavasana, but if you're not happy, you can change the pose in a moment. I'll tell you when. I want you to be conscious of the darkness that you've created by covering the eyes, how relaxing that feels. I want you to acknowledge to yourself that it is okay to be tired when you're tired. You do not have to keep pushing through. In fact, you might create a mantra of some sort in your head right now that just acknowledges your intention to listen to your body and its needs. Letting go. Allowing yourself to go deeper into relaxation. Do not worry about falling asleep. I'm right here to tell you when Shavasana is over, you'll hear me. Let go. What's holding you back? Take another deep breath and release it. If this is not how you want to be for Shavasana, go ahead and change the pose. Otherwise, go deeper. Settle into the darkness that you can see behind your closed eyelids. Isn't that one of the best parts of this? I want you to feel peaceful. And I want you to really consciously allow that peaceful feeling to infiltrate the muscles, the cells, the whole body at peace. And truthfully, if you're noticing any part of the body that doesn't feel peaceful, what could you do right now to change that? It might be changing the pose, it might be adding a prop, it might simply be sending love to that part of the body. Now give me one more deep breath in. Softly let it go. And I promise to stop talking. I will let you know when Shavasana is over. your focus back to your breath. And as you do so, if you stayed in that same position, you might feel the bolster rising up and down gently. We're going to go ahead and set that bolster off to the side. Make sure you keep your eyes closed as you reach back and remove that blanket from covering your eyes. And then go ahead and, wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes, flex the feet. And when you're ready, we're going to hug the knees into the heart. I still want you to notice the breath. If you're still feeling tired, and I think there's a difference between feeling tired and feeling a little sluggish coming out of Shavasana, I want you to set the intention that each breath is drawing in the energy that you need. And when you're ready, you'll just gently tip over to one side or the other in a fetal position. And then rise back up. Any seated pose that works for you. And then empty out the lungs completely. Slow, deep inhale through the nose. We're going to hold that breath. Cleansing exhale. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, hands to the heart. The light in me bows to the light in you. And when I'm in that place in me and you're in that place in you, then we become one. Namaste.